Good afternoon, everyone. This is Queenie Clem with Queenie's Book Talk and Reviews, and I am your literary ambassador. And today I have Bob Seay on my channel today. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you?
I'm great. Welcome to you. Thanks for doing the interview.
All right. Can you tell us about yourself?
What to say? I moved to Colorado in 1987 after I graduated from college. I worked for a year in Denver Public Schools as a substitute. And then I moved out to rural Colorado, the part that they don't talk about, out on the Eastern Plains, the flat part of the state, more or less flat. It's still higher than 48 other states out here. And I've been teaching school for the past 35 years. I ran for Congress in 2016, did not win. And I keep on teaching. That's what I do. And I write books.
Okay. Can you tell us about your books?
About my book? Well, let's talk about the first one. The first one is Bandroom. And I know that this is our new cover because I felt like this better showed the story. Bandroom is a compilation of the characters in Bandroom, I should say, are compilations of students I've had over the years. One of my big concerns about the book was that people would read the book and recognize themselves in it. But I think I cloaked it well enough that most people won't be able to say, oh, that's her and that's him, that's her and that's him. The storyline, the idea for the storyline came from, I teach a guitar class. I teach band, choir, and guitar. And I always get these football players in my guitar classes that are there because they need an academic credit or whatever it is that they need. And they are such fish out of water when they come into the band room. And so I started thinking, what would happen if one of these guys had to come in here under less inviting circumstances? And so that's what basically where the story came from.
Okay. What inspired you to write your books?
A lot of things. The book starts off with Angel. Angel is a football player, and he gets in trouble, and he has to do 90 days of community service in the band room. That actually happened with a student. I had a student several years ago who came in on charges very similar to what Angel was facing, actually, and asked if she could do. In this case, it was a female student. Asked if she could do community service in the band room, and why not? And so that's where he went. And then I had other students that I kind of put together. I wanted a book that was diverse and inclusive. One of the students is transgender because I have transgender students. And so I included that student in there because I felt like it was important to include her. One of the students is gay. Again, I have gay students. And so I put that in the book. Clarissa, the female character in the book, is biracial. I wanted to include that in the book. I basically included everyone I wanted to get into the book. And these are the problems that I've seen my students face. And these are the, in the book, it's not quite like, they didn't solve the problem that way that they would have in the book, but they still work together. And the whole idea was that people can work together, that we have more in common than we have different.
Okay. Tell us about your book, Dad.
Dad, I just finished up Dad in December. And this is actually, I took two periods of my life that were about 15 years apart and juxtaposed them on top of each other. I was teaching in a really small district and my job got cut. They wanted to cut the music position to half-time and I couldn't afford to have a half-time job. And so I decided at that point I would stop teaching and start writing. This was around the year 2000, 2001, somewhere in there. And so I started writing. And like Jacob in the book, I wrote some things that Jacob writes term papers for a living. That's what he does for a living. So that's what I was doing. And then about 4 years ago, while I was running for Congress, my dad had, I think he was in stage 4, stage 5 Alzheimer's. Okay. And he decided to go on a road trip to come and get me. And that story actually, that phone call that Jacob gets comes at 2 a.m. when his brother calls him and says, Dad's on your side of the Mississippi River now. It's your turn to take care of him. In real life, that phone call came on my wedding night. I had just married my second wife, Ginger. We got married that day. And Jim called me at 2 a.m. that night. And so I spent that night driving from Colorado to Kansas City to pick up my dad. And so I took those two events, the paper writing experience and the going to rescue my dad experience, and put them together on top of each other because I thought it made for a more interesting story. And again, the story is fictional. There is no Jacob Martin character that I'm aware of, or person that I'm aware of. But when my brothers and sister read it, they recognized themselves. I'm not even sure my sister is speaking to me right now because of the way I portrayed it. Dad was, a lot of families face aging parents. We have parents who aren't quite as sharp as they might have been. Or in my dad's case, my mom had died a month before that happened. And he was just lost without her. We did not realize how much our mom, because there's three of us, I didn't realize how much our mom was covering for dad when she was alive until she was gone. And we had to deal with it, and so that was kind of an eye-opening experience. And so that's why I wrote it, because I know there's other people out there going through the same thing that I am, or that we went through with dad.
Yeah. What do you do when you're not writing?
Try to write. Seriously, before I wrote The Band Room, I would write. I've written the first chapter to more books than I have read, honestly. I would write stuff and then hit Control-A, delete, and just take it away. I'm involved pretty heavily in politics. If people go to my website, bobseay.com, and look in the archives, because I'm trying now to transition that over to a writer website. But if they look in the archives, there's a lot of political stuff there. And really, that's kind of how I first got into writing for a bigger audience, was writing political blogs and political articles and things like that. And then I decided I wanted to go with fiction. Frankly, I was getting sick of politics. Although, to be fair, The Band Room is a very political book. There's a lot of political stuff in The Band Room. So that's that.
Okay. Where do your love of books, storytelling, reading, and writing come from?
My grandmother was an English teacher. And so, every time we would go visit them, and we went and spent weeks there every summer, I would go, our parents would basically ship us off to the grandparents for 2 weeks every summer. And there were always a lot of books in her house, and she was always encouraging us to read and not really giving us much of a choice to read, honestly. I mean, this is assigned work while you're here. And I think that's where I began to, be interested in reading books. And then my interest in writing developed just through simple high school English classes. I started writing in there. This was way before the internet. I graduated from high school in 1979. You probably weren't even born yet at that point. I would turn in stuff in English class, get accused of plagiarism. This is before the internet. I don't know how she thought I would turn in assignments, get accused of plagiarism. So I learned to write stuff and then dummy it down so I could turn it in and not be hassled about it.
Yes.
Which is, wow. I have really mixed feelings about that.
Yeah.
And still today, one of the problems I think I have, the vocabulary level in Band Room, there's some words in there that people don't use all the time, but they're perfectly good words, and they're words that needed to be there to tell the story. I'm not talking about any bad words. People are probably thinking, oh God, he's talking about horrible things here. I'm not. I'm just talking about common terms that, people don't use every day. So I don't know. That's where all that came from.
Okay. Would you like to read a snippet from one of your books?
Sure. You know what? I'm going to have to go get my glasses. Okay. 1 second. Okay. How much should I read here, and where should I start? How about if I just start at the beginning? How's that?
Okay.
Okay, I'll start at the beginning. I was thinking maybe I would do something else. I'll start at the beginning. Chapter 1. Dad's on your side of the Mississippi River. You're up. Summoned, I roll over and look at the clock. 1:58 a.m. Way too early for a phone call on a Monday. I only picked it up because I thought it might be a client. Then I heard my brother's voice saying something about a nationwide silver alert for Dad and tracking the GPS on Dad's car. What is all I managed to say. Highway Patrol found him driving around Kansas City, Sam says. Based on his gas station receipts, Dad always keeps the receipts in his bulging leather wallet, along with his Eagle Scout card and some indelibly faded pieces of paper. They're probably old receipts, and almost everything else he's accumulated over 75 years. The police guess he'd been looping on and off the exit ramps around Kansas City for about 10 hours. Sam's relief comes out as a slight laugh. He thought he was in St. Louis. No telling where he was before that. Kansas City is almost 10 hours away from you guys, I say. What was he doing in Kansas City? He was driving out to Colorado to see you. Now I'm awake. What happened? He left Cincinnati sometime Saturday afternoon, Sam said, just driving off without telling anybody. I didn't know until I went over there that evening to check on him. There's dog food all over the place, empty water bowls, and a bunch of puppy pads all over the place. Isn't that how Dad's place always looks? I said. The puppy pads became part of the decor when Mom and Dad started forgetting to let their two extremely overfed Shih Tzus go outside. An honest name would be pads for geriatric dogs with incontinence issues and the owners who love them. Well, yeah, Sam admitted, but Dad was not there. Dad's disappeared before, but never for more than a few hours, and he's always managed to find his way back home. Sam thought he might have gone to the state park that's about an hour from his place. He's been going up there more often since Mom died. Sam and I have a running joke about how Dad would be my responsibility if he ended up on my side of the Mississippi River. It was only funny because neither one of us thought it would ever happen. Sam is still explaining. I called the police when he didn't come back Saturday night. It took them this long to find him. He sounds tired. It's just 4 a.m. in Cincinnati. I'm guessing Sam hasn't had much sleep since Saturday. I get out of bed. Okay, I'm on my way. Should I keep going or should I stop?
You can stop. Wow. Wow. So how long have you been writing?
Books?
Mm-hmm.
Bandroom was my first. So I put out my first book July 31st of last year.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And then I started doing I started writing the second one when we were out for Thanksgiving break. That's when I started writing Dad.
Mm-hmm.
And I finished it up just before New Year's Eve. I wanted to get it in by the end of 2020.
Oh, okay. Is there any particular author or book that influenced your writing?
John Irving, I like John Irving a lot. People like that. This is embarrassing to even admit this, John Grisham, because he's so mainstream. Guys like that. John Grisham is a little bit more formulaic than I would like to be, but I like that kind of stuff.
Okay, okay. Can you tell us about the challenges in getting your book published?
Well, I self-published.
Okay.
Because for me, that was the easiest way to do it. I joke in Dad, the lead character, Jacob Martin, talks about the marshmallow test. And that's really put a marshmallow in front of these kids and tell them to wait and see if, who can wait for the marshmallow. I have problems like that too. I have problems with that whole delay of gratification thing. And so I thought, I can either wait 2 years for this to go through a traditional publishing process, or I can self-publish it now, get it out there, and have something to show for my efforts. And that's what I did. I was a music major, obviously, because I'm a band and choir teacher. And so I approached the books just like I would approach being in a band, when I was in college. If this were an indie band, how would I promote this?
Right.
There are good and bad things about self-publishing, and I've learned so much in the past, 8 months. But it's working for me right now. I've turned my books over to a couple of literary agents. I've sent out inquiry letters, so hopefully something will come of that.
Okay, okay. What avenues have you found to market your books?
Oh man, if you could tell me that, I would pay you big money. I have tried Amazon ads, Facebook ads, all these little book bloggers, that put things out there. Some of them seem to be very legit, and some of them not so much. There's a lot of scams out there trying to rip off writers, which is disappointing to discover.
Yes.
And I've done a lot of just sending free copies to people. Here, would you like to read this? Would you read this and write a review? Tell if you would, please. Things like that. With COVID, I'm not able to, visit bookstores like I would like to, although hopefully that will be changing. Colorado is beginning to open back up.
Yes.
So hopefully that will change. And that's how I've been marketing it. I'm looking forward to this summer, maybe being able to actually go to some bookstores and talk to some people and approach it that way.
Okay. What projects are you working on right now?
I'm working on a third story, and I'm not sure how much. I want to make it about a couple of street musicians.
Oh, okay.
And but I find that my books tend to have, themes in them. Like the theme of the band room is compassion. And for that matter, so is the theme of Dad. Both those books, compassion and empathy, are really big themes in those books. And so I'd like to keep on working in that theme. I think it's a necessary theme, first of all, because we certainly lack both those qualities in society right now. We need more compassion. We need more empathy. And so I would like to keep working in that vein. I don't want to say too much about the new book because, frankly, I don't know where it's going yet, but that's what I'm working on right now.
What has been your greatest accomplishment thus far in your literary career?
The greatest thing I ever did, literary-wise, was in 2013. It was at the end of the trial about the murder of Trayvon Martin. And I wrote a piece called I Am Not Trayvon Martin. And seriously, I printed that out, typed it up in like 15 minutes. It was originally a Facebook status. And that ended up going viral. If you Google my name and Trayvon Martin, that comes up all over the place. And the website, the Facebook hits, I forget how many thousands, hundreds of thousands of hits this thing ended up having. And that was when I realized that there were people out there who thought like me. I live in an extremely rural part of Colorado, extremely conservative part of Colorado. And there aren't many progressive liberal people like me out here. And so when that story hit, you have a white guy, a school teacher, saying, you don't have to be Black to be offended by this murder. You just have to be human, for crying out loud, to be offended by this. The UK Guardian called that one of the 10 most important commentaries on the Trayvon Martin case. It's appeared in 2 different communications textbooks that I know of. It appeared in at least one law journal, another academic journal. It appeared in a journal about feminist theory, which I thought was interesting that the Trayvon Martin piece would appear in a feminist journal. Yeah, it was about identifying, the other and that type of thinking. So that by far, so far, has had the most readers and the most action of anything. And then the whole, I am not thing took off and went viral and got, my life was really weird for about a month there. I was getting everything from marriage proposals to death threats. It was just that kind of, yeah, it was just a weird time. So yeah, that piece, there's no way, nothing else I've ever written even come close to that.
What genre would you like to step your foot into or do different? Is there any other genre would you like to write in?
I write, both these books are, I would consider literary fiction. Now, The Band Room started off as a young adult novel. That was what I was pitching this as, was a young adult novel. But I'm finding that a lot of adults have liked the book and have enjoyed the book. So I'm not sure if young adult is the correct category for that, even though, all the characters, the main characters are all high school students. It is a textbook young adult novel, but I don't want to do, romance. And there's so much mystery stuff. I don't like this kind of serial driven type of stuff. So I want to do literary fiction that just tells a good story. That's what I really want to do, is just tell a good story.
Okay. Where can we find you and your books?
You can go to bobseay.com. That's BOBSEAY.com. And there's a link there to the site where it's on Amazon, or you can just go directly to Amazon and search for my name, and both of the books will come up. I just got them included on Ingram Spark. So if you go to a bookstore, they should be able to order it for you if they don't have it on their shelf. In fact, the Ingram Spark deal, we just got that wrapped up on Thursday. So that's
Oh, wow.
brand new.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate
Yes.
that.
Yes.
So hopefully we will have, easy access for everybody. On Amazon, it's available in paperback and on Kindle.
Okay. Is there anything else you would like to add before we close?
No, thank you for the interview. I really appreciate it. I look better in a size 12 font than I I used to tell my friends I have a face for radio, But thank you very much. And I hope that people enjoy the books. And if you do, please leave a review or send me an email, because I really like to hear from people. Either way, even if they didn't like it, even if there's something that just really got somebody upset, I'd really like to hear that, to find out what their point of view is on that book.
And can you hold your books up again so we can see the covers?
Sure. This is the banjo. The picture of Clarissa and Angel there. I don't know how well you can see that.
Yeah, I can see it.
And this is Dad. Picture of a silhouette of a man looking at his phone, leaned up against his car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming in today. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure talking to you.
All right. This is Queenie Clem with Queenie's Book Talk and Reviews. Happy reading. Bye, y'all.
Bye.